When I started this Skyline build last year, I never thought it would go this far.
It's gonna run, it'll run. It's making a weird sound though. It is though. That's a very bad sound.
I'm trying to put you in the worst mood. P1 cleaner than your church shoes.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's something.
Just to tease you. None of these toys on police to put your whole year in a week too. Main bitch out of your league too. Side bitch out of your league too. Pussy ones you need a centipede.
Holy crap!
Cut that iron into skinny pieces. Then she clean up with her face, man. I love my babe.
Just being an R32 enthusiast.
Yeah.
Just, you can have a look.
Feel like it's got comp? Yeah. Sounds like it's got comp.
Great.
Got the RB25 Neo. That's not good. That's as bad as the RB20 that I had. So here they are.
Need some of that Diddy loop.
When we took this car apart for the first time, we didn't have a shop. And as we've been settling in, as I've been building the Land Cruiser and the BMW, the R32 has been put completely on the back burner. But it's now finally time to bring this thing to the shop. And now that we've got the Land Cruiser, we can easily tow it. This might not seem like a huge deal to you guys, but it's a huge deal to me. Finally bringing my most anticipated build to the shop and working on it on a hoist is gonna be awesome.
The Skyline's now loaded up. Everything was pretty seamless, right?
Easy and seamless.
No issues. Look at that, guys. Tow rig, baby, with the Skyline. All right, we've finally made it to the shop. Got the Land Cruiser, the Skyline on the back. Peter's just moving out, Lachlan's AU.
Well, first of all, I didn't expect you to tow with no body panels on it. I thought you were going to put the bonnet on and the bumper, but you just got lazy. It's going to end up like my EF. How was the Cruiser towing though?
It was actually fine. No issue at all, just the brakes. I think I need bigger brakes or better pads or something.
Yeah, I can smell the brakes when you rocked up.
Finally at the shop. Check this out. I never thought when I started this build that we would have a shop. I planned to do this all at home, but now finally here.
You're too far over.
Forward. Where do I put Mum's bed sheets? Some of you have probably forgotten that I own this car. And don't worry, I forgot too, because I haven't seen this thing and worked on it in months. I've fallen into that classic trap of starting something that was a little too ambitious, and with everything going on, with having this warehouse and all that, this car has basically just sat for the past 6-7 months untouched. And I guess I got some explaining to do. In all seriousness, if you haven't watched the... Look, I can't even speak because I haven't done a 32 video in so long. In all seriousness, guys, if you don't know about this car, this is my R32 GTS-T Skyline that I've put an RB25 DET Neo into it. It's got a fully forged motor that I put together with my very own hands, so it'll probably blow up. This car started out being a car that was passed around to a bunch of people, and it was actually stolen off its previous owner, or the previous owner. So this car, once upon a time, was stolen. And that's why a lot of you guys, I guess, were interested in the videos, because we transformed it into this, and now it's not running. Anyway, do you notice that whiteboard? It's empty now, because I just cleaned it. And that's because we're gonna write everything down that we need to do in order to finish this car, because, so much work.
I'm noticing more and more with these builds, you want to slowly tick off things and do small jobs over time. If you try to do everything at once, you'll just get overwhelmed. So a good thing to do is write a checklist and tick things off.
This is definitely not everything, and I'm gonna be finding more things as I go, but at least I can start ticking stuff off in order to get the build done. So the first thing that we're gonna do today is do the fuel pump and I think the bulkhead fittings, and then see what else we can do while we're here. Definitely my favorite part about the 32 Skyline is the booty. It's pretty iconic. And today we'll be going inside the booty and doing some work. So, oh, that's definitely gonna fall on my head for sure. Gonna pull the fuel pump out because it's only got a 255 in there. We're upgrading to a 525 and I'll show you when we got everything out.
Out you come, mate. Oh my God.
Here is our fuel pump assembly. We've got our brand new fuel pump over here. We currently, like I said, have a 255, but we'll be installing a 525, which is a 525 litre per hour fuel pump. We want some big power, so we need a lot of fuel. You can see the 525 is quite larger than the 255 that's currently in there that we put in to just get the car running initially. And then we also have some Raceworks bulkhead fittings. And also guys, if you don't know this already, Raceworks is a massive supporter of the channel. That's why we're using all of their parts. And all of their stuff is pretty damn fantastic. Quick plug to the guys over at Raceworks. We've been waiting to install all of our Raceworks goodies onto the 32. But yeah, we're gonna start off with their bulkhead fittings.
So here is a diagram of what bulkhead fittings do. You're essentially replacing the standard wiring harness to run a wire directly to the battery. Because these fuel pumps pull so much power, you can't use the standard wiring. We're going to keep the ones that go to the level sensor still installed and try to use the standard holes for the bulkhead fittings.
Everything else is installed here. New fuel pump. That is the fuel pump done. There you go.
Pretty clean. Pretty stoked with that.
And now we have two things to cross off our list. This is going to be satisfying. Fuel pump install, bulkhead fittings, and then I cut the fuel lines off, so I'm going to run fuel lines. Next thing that we need to do is pull the motor. Is now out of the car and we need to install a bunch of stuff like the trigger kit. So this is the trigger kit that we're running. Apparently these are a little bit better than some of the other brands out there on the market. Bodan, toughness to inspire the future motorsports. All right, bam. Look at all these parts, man. Oh my God. We got sensors for the cam, sensors for the crank, everything that we need, man. No instructions though, so. What the trigger kit will essentially do is allow the ECU to look at the cam timing and the crank timing perfectly so you can tune these things and make all the power. But the factory CAS sensor that comes on these RB25s aren't that good. So upgrading them is usually always the best play. And the kit includes a cam trigger and a crank sensor trigger as well. So I need to take all of this stuff off again because I only got that after I installed the engine. So the trigger kit is almost installed, running into a bit of a problem, guys. So this Bodan kit, the mount can only go in this location. I've played around with it. I can't figure out where else it can go. It makes sense that it goes on here because then the sensor comes close to where the gears are right there. However, it's literally, you can see there's do I have to notch the oil pump out in order to fit the sensor in? Oh, God damn.
The answer was yes.
Got my trusty old Ryobi. The trigger kit is now crossed off, and now we're gonna start working on the injectors and also the intake manifold stuff. So we are running an aftermarket intake plenum, a forward-facing one, and it's a cheap one off eBay, which hopefully will do the job, but we need to prepare this. There's a few different fittings that we need to put on because for some reason on these RBs, they have coolant running through the intake manifold. So we need to make basically fittings on that in order to run to a little block for the coolant feed through the intake because this intake obviously doesn't have water going through it. I've already started installing the fittings for the coolant lines. You can see there, there, and there. And we've also started to install some of the vacuum lines that'll go into the intake manifold, like the brake booster, the map sensor that'll go to the ECU. The brake booster fitting should literally go somewhere here. Got to figure all that out. And I'm using some thread sealant as well to make sure that none of this stuff leaks. I'm pretty sure that I showed this in another video, but I got the intake manifold milled because these are cheap and they come from China warped. So I got the whole surface of the intake manifold skimmed. You can see it's nice and shiny now to make sure that this thing is super flat and we don't have any sort of warpage as there is coolant going through here and boost, of course. We don't want to lose any boost. So let's start finishing this intake manifold off and figure some more stuff out as we go.
So I connected up some of the fittings that are used for the brake booster, the ECU bar sensor, and I'm also blocking off the IACV valve. That's because I'll be running a drive-by-wire throttle. And I've decided to do that because it's going to simplify a lot of this stuff, but I still haven't bought that yet. Goodbye, more money.
I've now got the intake manifold flipped over because we have taken off this fuel rail. I was going to run a Raceworks fuel rail, but this intake manifold, unfortunately, only can fit this. And this is pretty dodgy. There's no like sort of recessing for the O-rings, which is kind of frustrating because this block off here, it's just sealing against the flat surface here, which is not ideal. You want it to be sort of like sitting inside. But anyway, we'll just run it, see what happens. But we are running some Raceworks 1000cc injectors. These injectors are gonna go hard. Should be able to make some decent power with them, and we should have enough fuel flow, which is ideal. So gonna lube these up with some Vaseline. Got to keep everything nice and lubed, and yeah, we'll install the rail, I guess. I've run into a bit of a problem. So the rail that I've got, it's a cheap rail, and half the fitting threads that go into them are just like, they're just poorly made. So we are going to attempt to use the Raceworks fuel rail. So the Raceworks fuel rail I wasn't going to use originally because it's designed for a standard intake plenum, and we of course aren't using a standard intake plenum, but there's no way to actually mount this on. So I'm going to use the fittings that came with the plenum, and I'm going to try weld the rail onto them and see if I can get this to all fit up. If I can, then it'd be pretty cool. The tabs sort of line up, you can see, but I'm going to have to sort of sand back a freshly anodized Raceworks rail, which I wanted to avoid, but we'll see how we go. I'm grinding down my Raceworks fuel rail because I want to use it, and we're going to weld some tabs onto it. Hopefully it works. We got a bracket that we're going to weld into this. I probably haven't taken off as much paint as I should have, but it is what it is. We're just going to see what happens. Hope we didn't cook the rail. Check this out, guys. We have the fuel rail on the eBay plenum now, and I'll show you a close-up in a second, but we fabricated the brackets and it's all good to go.
First things first, Coke Zero for the sole. You have to go like this as you crack it.
So this is what we did in order to fit the Raceworks fuel rail onto the eBay plenum. I just welded some brackets, not pretty, and you'll only be able to see this portion of it, so you won't be able to see any of the jank welds, but there's our brackets right there, and one there, nice and centered. And now everything bolts on. Look at that. Ooh, so satisfying. Hopefully we don't get any leaks, but I'm pretty certain we'll be all right. This does have to come off again, however, because we need to run all the water lines, which I brought from home. Those fittings that I installed earlier in the video are for the water lines. So let's try run those as well. So because this eBay plenum doesn't have coolant running through it, they give you a bunch of these hoses that go to this block that will go to the top radiator hose. And we just need to put some fittings in there, then run all the water lines. And then there's also 2 spots for the sensors, the water sensor, and I don't know what the other one is that goes into the water, but let's start trying to mock all this stuff up. We've got the coolant lines all ran now. They go to this distributing block. And like I said, the sensors just go in the side here. Well, that's not the right one. Maybe it is, maybe. Yep, that should screw in there. We're gonna put this on now and see where this ends up. So we've got the plenum on now, and we have the coolant lines running to this little distributor block, and we've also got the fittings in there as well. I've got the alternator, so I'm gonna install that. I've got the power steering pump, so I'm gonna start installing all that stuff as well. And then we are almost ready to put the engine back in. I've decided to take the intake manifold off because we're now going to simplify the coolant lines and where they route. So because we're running that plenum, we have to delete some of these lines. You can see coming off the thermostat housing, I've already taken one of the lines and put a bolt through there. Pretty janky, but it works, and it's going to be the easiest way to clean all this stuff up. I do want to run heater, that's why we have all of this stuff in the way. This line here and this line here go to the oil cooler, which we aren't running because we're going to be relocating this and having an external cooler and oil fitting thingo-majigo. So we are going to be blocking this off, and then this one here is going to be our turbo feed, which for some reason is blocked off here. I don't know. If there's any problems with this, please let me know in the comments if you guys know a better way of doing this. But I'm just going to go ahead and start plugging up all the lines that I'm not using because we do want to run heater core lines. Nathan is here working on his XR6.
Got XR6ception here. Look. Still there. I need to get a video out tomorrow, and I figured, what's the quickest thing I could do to my AU? Chuck a potty on it.
Ooh!
It's gonna do absolutely nothing,
Whoa.
but it's gonna look cool, I think.
Chuck it on.
P-planer mods.
Yeah, force it on there. Yeah! Come on, man. Peter is, for some reason, using Nathan's hoist, and he's pulling a motor out of a Cressida that he bought.
We're gonna be Intech swapping this one. Look, perfect.
I don't know what's going on, but it's pretty entertaining having the boys here working on their own cars while I'm mucking around with my RB25. Look at that. Yes. I thought Toyotas were easy to work on, man.
This is a nightmare compared to the Fords. Genuinely a nightmare.
It's the wrong size.
Yeah.
Jesus, that was difficult.
Whoa, look how clean that is.
Pretty good, huh?
Oh.
Huh?
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 Huh? Anyway, I've got a special box to unbox because we've had some people come on board for this build that I want to share with you guys. Over in this pile is a box that I have been keeping for a long time. Let me show you what's in this box. Whoa, whoa.
Careful, don't make any sudden movement.
Whoa, 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 whoa. These builds would not be possible without sponsors, and TurboSmart have come on board in order to help finish this Skyline. They literally sent me this box months ago. I feel so bad that I haven't unboxed it yet. Look at that, we've got some TurboSmart cards. That's pretty cool. We can play some games upstairs on our little mezzanine. TurboSmart's pimping us out. We got some TurboSmart shades. Bro, we got a external wastegate keychain. TurboSmart t-shirt. Oh, that's sick, man. Look at this, cuz. TurboSmart, baby. We'll save the best till last. Got a TurboSmart banner. Wait, have I got it the right way? TurboSmart, engineered to win. Now we've got the important stuff here. TurboSmart have sent us out a turbo oil pressure regulator. So we're gonna install that just before the turbo so we can make sure that the turbo's got the correct oil pressure that it needs. And this is what I've been really excited for. This is a ProGate 50mm external wastegate. I think this is their new one. It has some new bits of technology that I can't recite off the top of my head. So this is a 50mm wastegate. We're gonna be running an external gate. Damn! Look at this lad. That's what he does, right? Some fittings and all that for the vacuum lines, some springs. So this should be going around somewhere around here. So yeah, 50mm, Jesus, that's big. Yeah, this thing's gonna sound so good alongside the STF manifold as well. Of course, when it comes to boost control, you wanna make sure that you've got the best possible control that you can buy, because if you're not managing boost correctly, you can blow up your motor. So yeah, we'll be able to hopefully dial in the boost, make sure this thing's running pretty good. But yeah, this thing should sound freaking awesome. Look at that big valve in there. Ooh. So the next thing you guys are probably curious about is what sort of engine management that we are running for this. I think I showed it in another video. We are running a Haltech ethanol sensor. And of course, that means we are running all the latest and greatest Haltech gear. We have a lot of stuff here. Haltech. So I balled out, guys, I'm not gonna lie. And we have gone with the Nexus S3 Haltech ECU. Haltech sort of like almost upsold me because these ECUs aren't that much more expensive than the 2500s, I think they are. So you may as well get one of these. And they've also, improved a lot of the technology. I believe that you can connect to these on your phone. So that's pretty sick. Imagine that. I can put some gauges on my iPhone, while I'm driving. I can be like, yeah, this is tough. I'm kidding, don't do that. What else is in here? Ooh, look at that. Open here. Ooh.
It's foolproof. Bang, the cable, the famous cable. Look at that.
Yellow. Oh, look at that. $3,000 keychain. Now, Haltech actually sent me out a backing case because they found out that the backing cases on these, I believe, fail or something goes wrong with them. So they immediately fixed that issue. They called me and they said, we need to send you this casing out, which is mad. That just shows Haltech support is absolutely unreal. Also got a plug and play harness kit for the R32 GTST, R33. Yeah, look, you can use this for a different
32, 33, 34.
That's it, man. LSU 4.9 wideband adapter. You can see, guys, why this build has taken so long, because I've honestly had to save up for all this stuff because we have gone absolutely overboard. But yeah, we've got quite a bit more stuff to do. The checklist is still pretty... The entire Skyline build definitely just snowballed to the point where I just couldn't keep spending money on it and continuing to work on it because, see, the problem is with YouTube, the thing that performs is like quick builds or builds that are like, you know, from the ground up. And I guess this car was from the ground up, but it's just taken so long with all the stuff that I've had to spend money on. And obviously to get this thing painted was, you know, it took way too long. It took like, what, 3-4 months or something like that?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, so like obviously that delays the build, and then if I have to wait for that, I have to get another car in order to make content for you guys, and then that obviously means that this thing just kept getting pushed further and further back. Like I said at the start of the video, we got the BMW, we got the Land Cruiser, we worked on the Lancer with Mike, and we also built the Silver Lancer.
Silver Lancer? Yeah.
Dude, there's been like 4 cars in between. I think I was starting the Porsche when I had this thing as well. I probably bought that in the middle of this thing getting painted.
It did, yeah.
YouTube is weird now. You can't just get away with vlogging. You need to put a bit more effort into your content. This video is going to be pretty vlog style, but that's what you get, and that's what you're going to get with this stuff. It's just going to be complete raw nonsense.
Filler content to get paid. Nothing going on in the video. Look at me and my trigger kit. 20-minute trigger kit install.
And then I'll probably conclude tomorrow. Yep, cool. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. The Skyline will hopefully be done at the end of next month. So appreciate all of you guys for sticking around, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.